this week we will see that heroes keep their eyes on Jesus. To begin, Aaron, can you think of a time when you really had to pay attention?
I'm confused. Pay attention to what? What's going on?
Okay, so can you think of a time when you had to really pay attention, like maybe even like right now, like during the lesson and during our filming, gotta pay attention?
Yeah. Every day of my life. That's why I wear these glasses. They might make me look really handsome, but more importantly, they help me see because without them, I am super blind.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, you are. Will you put those back on yet? Oh, much more handsome. Nice.
Yeah, because with my glasses on,
Uh-huh.
I have to pay attention to everything around me. It helps me see so I can pay attention, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing when I'm driving in the car, I have to pay attention to the other drivers, to my speed limit, to the signs, its turn signals, all those details. When I'm at church, I have to pay attention to what Pastor Brian is saying and, focus on that because you're going to be whispering questions the whole time and it's hard to focus. So I have to make sure, wait, what do you... Let's hear what he has to say first before we ask questions, okay?
I usually have lots of questions,
Yeah, and I focus so I can answer them really well.
Yes.
And then also when I'm home, I pay attention to the television so that I can hear when Gandalf says to the Balrog, "You shall not pass." And the Balrog goes, "Growl." And like,
Ooh. Yeah. Those are good examples. You do not want to miss any of those kind of things.
Yeah.
Now, Aaron,
example.
There's a saying in baseball that says to keep your eyes on the ball, which means you really need to have good focus if you want to accurately hit the ball, if you want to accurately catch the ball. There are lots of times in life where we need to have excellent attention if we want to be successful. Like when I'm cooking back there in the kitchen, if I don't have good attention and focus, then my food might burn. If I'm doing artwork, like coloring, I need to have really good attention so that I stay within the lines or keep my drawing the way I want it to be. When I'm at school, I need to have really, really good attention because otherwise I might miss what the teacher is saying to me.
Yeah, and it's really important to listen to the teacher like right now. I wonder if the kids at home are paying attention.
I wonder.
Like, how many fingers am I holding up?
Oh, that was... Well, are you giving them time to guess?
No, gotta be quick. How many?
Yeah, okay, very good. It's important sometimes to pay attention to things in this world, and it is even more important to pay attention to God. In Psalm 119:15, it says, "I will meditate on your precepts and fix my eyes on your ways."
Interesting. Asking for a friend, but what does meditate on your precepts mean?
Well, to meditate means to think over carefully, and a precept is like a command or a direction. So when it says that I will meditate on God's precepts, it's saying I'm going to think carefully about God's directions. I'm going to think carefully about God's word and God's ways.
Got it.
When we meditate on God's precepts, we remind our forgetful hearts that God is sovereign and that we are not, that God is in control and that we are not. In our Bible story today, we are going to see how important it is to focus on Jesus. Our Bible story today comes from Matthew chapter 14. And in this passage, Jesus and the disciples are with a large crowd of people. And it says that Jesus told the disciples to get into a boat and to go out on the water while Jesus dismissed the crowd of people. So the disciples get into the boat, they go out on the water, Jesus dismisses the crowd of people, and soon he's alone. And before he goes to see the disciples, it says he goes up to the mountainside to pray. Now, doesn't that remind you of our lesson a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
That heroes rely on prayer? This is one of those times where Jesus is alone and he's taking time to communicate with God and to pray to God. And he prays to God for so long that it becomes kind of dark out. It's evening, and the disciples' boat is now far out onto the water. It says that the wind was kind of stormy. There was lots of waves. There was not really a way for them to easily get back to shore. And so Jesus comes walking to them on top of the water. He's miraculously walking on the water. And when the disciples saw him, they were afraid. They didn't know it was Jesus. They didn't know what they were seeing. They said,
"It's a ghost."
They thought it was a ghost. They cried out in fear, it says. But immediately Jesus spoke to them and he said,
"Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid."
Okay, and Peter answered him. So Peter's looking out at Jesus and he's like, really, is that Jesus? And Peter says,
Lord, if it is you, command me to walk out on the water.
right? Peter knew that Jesus was Lord. And he's like, okay, if this is really Jesus walking on the water, then I should be able to walk out to him and not be afraid, because Jesus, he knew, was God and is powerful. So Jesus says to him,
Come.
so Peter gets out of the boat, and at first he's walking on the water toward Jesus. He's miraculously walking on top of the water. But soon, Peter, who's looking right at Jesus, he takes his eyes off Jesus.
Oh, no.
And he starts seeing the scary wind and the waves all around him, and he gets afraid. And as soon as he gets afraid, he starts to sink in the water, and he cries out,
Lord, save me.
and Jesus immediately reached out a hand and he grabbed Peter and he said,
Oh, you of little faith, why do you doubt?
so Jesus and Peter get back into the boat, and the wind becomes calm, and all the disciples worship Jesus, saying,
Truly, you are the Son of God.
absolutely. Heroes have perseverance.
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 That means they keep on going.
That means they keep going. Now, in
Little
Peter's
Energizer
case,
bunnies.
it was hard for him to keep going. At first, he had faith in Jesus. He's like, if it really is you, I know I can walk on top of these waves. But those things around him, that scary wind, those scary waves, it made him doubt. It made him afraid. And it was hard for him to persevere. Persevere, to keep going. Now, in our life, we might have times where we're actually swimming and maybe it's hard to keep on swimming or keep on walking.
Yeah.
In the Bible, Jesus tells us that we will have trouble. There are going to be times when we have hard times in this world, and it's going to be hard to keep going, to want to keep going. And in those moments, we need to keep our eyes on Jesus. We need to remember back what we said. We need to meditate on his precepts, on his word. We need to keep in the Bible. We need to keep praying. We need to keep in Christian community. Only by keeping our eyes on Jesus will we not be swept away by the false teaching around us, by false doctrines, by despair, by hopelessness. So here's a challenge. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge us. Let's think, how are we maybe taking our eyes off Jesus? Where in our life are we getting distracted from God's way? How can we keep our focus on him? Can you have a discussion with your family this week? How can you keep your focus on Jesus this week, even when maybe you're in times of trouble, or in times of hardship, or in times of despair? In our Everyday Hero video this week, we are going to hear from Mrs. Penatani, who is in our church. Now, Mrs. Penatani probably has gone through lots of hard times in her life, but right now she is battling cancer, and we are going to see how by keeping her eyes on Jesus, she is able to persevere, she is able to keep going.
Hi Lifeline kids, my name is Agnes Lamupenitani and I'm 46 years old. I am a mother of 3 children, ages 11, 10, and 8. And my 8-year-old, his name is David, and he is a very special person because he has a rare diagnosis that only 10 other kids in the United States and also in the Netherlands that have it, called RE when he was diagnosed. So I also work with a lot of refugees and a lot of businesses to help them with employment, but also to educate businesses on who refugees are. I don't know if you do know, but here in Utah, we've actually have 65,000 refugees resettled here in Utah since the Vietnam War. So my main responsibility is to coordinate and help them with employment, but also help them with short-term training skills to make sure that they are able to gain those skills and be employable and be able to pay for their mortgage, pay for their bills. But that is my main job, is to educate also businesses on who refugees are. and that they're an added value here in Utah and also to the community and to their businesses. Right now, I am battling cancer, and it's stage 4 colon cancer, which means I'm on what's called palliative care, so the pain is a lot, but also stage 4 means that it is spreading to my liver and my lungs. I'm currently doing chemo treatment where it's trying to help decrease all the tumors, but also we're praying for a miracle. So whether it's through chemo and it's through prayer, through surgery, if it's at all possible, or just a miracle. So I have been battling cancer since February 1st of last year, so it's been about 17 months. And most people, I was told by my doctor, live for 2 years. So we're going to try and beat the 2 years by fixing our eyes on Jesus. I have been struggling a lot with pain. So as you can see how I get up in the morning, it takes a lot longer for me to get up. Usually I use Bible verses, and when I say I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, helps me focus not on the pain, but on Jesus, who will help me get up in the morning. So those are some of my struggles battling cancer, is getting up in the morning, walking, and it's taking me a lot longer to get ready for work or get ready to go to my doctor's appointment, or just helping out at home with chores. So it takes a lot longer, 2 times longer or more. So let me give you an example on how I fix my eyes on Jesus with people at work. During the time of me battling cancer, they've always asked me why there's such just a joy, even with time going through pain and suffering with cancer. That was an opportunity for me to share who Jesus is and what he is doing in my life. So that is a different perspective from most people that are experiencing cancer. Either it's complaining or accusing God of why me, or just not being able to be thankful. So changing that perspective, so even if I am battling cancer and having to work, because I'm fixing my eyes on Jesus, and it is Jesus who is the author and perfecter of my faith. He is the one that's changing my perspective and my mind, and that is the reason why I fix my eyes on Jesus. Another way of fixing my eyes on Jesus is through God's word and through prayer. So one of the things that I do, I write down my memory verses here and try and memorize it or go through it throughout the day, and focusing on God's promises and on prayer. Lately, I have been praying more, changing my prayer from asking God to heal me to just a time of worship. So since it's difficult sometimes for me to speak out loud, listening to hymns and just worshiping God through prayer has been just an encouraging time for me on how I can fix my eyes on Jesus through his word and his promises and through prayer.
Lifeline kids, as you get up in the morning, say good morning to Jesus through prayer and reading the Bible. Those are things that you can do to fix your eyes on Jesus. And as you go about your day, I would encourage you to do 3 things. First, think of one thing that you're thankful to God for. It could be a good night's sleep. It could be food. It could be shelter, friends, family. It could be because Jesus is good and faithful. Second, think of one person you can bless today. It could be a missionary. It could be one of the pastors. It could be a neighbor, a friend, or just someone that needs encouragement. You can do that by writing a letter, a phone call, texting, or just praying for them. Third, think of one thing that you can learn today and that you can apply it in your life and make that change for the better. So again, first, think of one thing that you're thankful to God for. Second, think of one person that you can bless today. Third, think of one thing that you can learn and apply it today in your life that would make a difference. Hope you have a blessed Fixing Your Eyes on Jesus week, because He is the author and perfecter of our faith. Have a lovely day.
Wow, thank you so much, Mrs. Penatani, for being willing to talk about your story and share with these kids about how you keep your eyes on Jesus. This week, it would be great if you would take time as a family to pray for Mrs. Penatani and maybe talk about other people that you know who are battling illnesses like cancer in your life. Take some time as a family to pray for them, that they would have perseverance, that they would keep their eyes on Jesus. Now this week, it would be great if you could just send a note of encouragement to Mrs. Penatani, or even to someone else that you know who might need a note of encouragement, who is battling a sickness this week. If you need her address, you can email Aaron. Here's his email address. And you can ask Aaron for her address or for her email address to send her a note of encouragement. I pray that we would just be a church who encourages others, who comes alongside others. Sometimes it's hard to keep our eyes on Jesus. Sometimes we might need help, and for someone else to point the way and say, look, keep your eyes on Jesus. Here's His word. Let's meditate on it together. Let's be encouraging to one another this week. Have a great week.
See ya.